Today we are at a Warrior's Heart located in Bandera, Texas, and this is a treatment facility for veterans and first responders struggling with addiction, PTSD, and anxiety. Today we have the honor of meeting with Cash Axemaker. She is head of their canine department. And Cash, welcome, and looks like you have your buddy there, Otis, with you.
I do. Thank you for coming out today. We're really excited about talking with you. This is my personal PTSD dog, Canine Otis.
Canine Otis. Well, awesome. Well, Michelle, could you just give our viewers a little background on a Warrior's Heart and, you know, where they were founded, and just give us a little bit of background on their mission?
Absolutely. So our mission is to treat warrior class. So that's going to be veterans, active duty military, and first responders of all types that are battling with addiction and PTS or some other co-occurring disorder.
And so let's talk about your background. I've known you for a while. I've had the honor of knowing you. You're just an amazing human being. But just your ability to work with animals. I know you were a zookeeper, you've done horses, and now you're here working with these dogs. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
So I experienced a pretty big trauma in my life several years ago. I sought treatment for it because I wasn't able to cope with it on my own. I was experiencing things like anxiety, sleeplessness, grief, and loss. So through therapy, I learned that I had PTSD, which is also called PTS, and I started taking a lot of medication to deal with that in addition to the therapy. It wasn't working enough or fast enough for me. So since I have that animal background, I knew that there were PTSD dogs out there. I researched it and I trained Otis, who is my pet, to be my PTS dog. His main job is to help me battle loneliness and to wake me up from those nightmares. Nightmares are something that often aren't able to be treated with medication, but the dog is on point every time. It's a game for him, it's fun time for him when I have that nightmare. So he wakes me up, I wake up, it feels good, I give him those scratches or maybe that treat, and he loves it. So he has made my life better. I don't have to take sleeping medication anymore. I don't have that huge rush of anxiety when it's bedtime. I go to bed like anybody else does. It's just a normal part of my life now because Otis has a very important job.
So going from your trauma and what you've taught Otis, tell me how you brought that to a Warrior's Heart and dealing with these amazing veterans and first responders.
So I'm able to tell my story, right? The trauma part of it, the way Otis came in and made my life better. Along with that comes the message of hope. So we can learn to live with our PTS. We can learn to live with anxiety. We can beat and battle addiction in a very positive and meaningful way. The service dog isn't for everyone. In my personal journey, it was a lifesaver for me. So I'm able to say that story to our clients and our warriors that are here and give them that piece of hope that sometimes they can't find through medications and therapies.
And so you were aware that you needed something else. How do these veterans and first responders know that they might need this and they're not really sure how to find it? How does that work?
So that's a big question, and it's sometimes the hardest thing to do is just to simply ask for help. So oftentimes our loved ones are going to make us aware that we're struggling. Warrior's Heart is a great place to go, but man, that first call can be really, really tough. We call it that 1,000-pound phone when we're calling out to reach for help. So these warriors are tough guys, right? They're strong. They're told not to ask for help. They've got to suck it up, you know, be a tough guy. So asking for help is really the first part of the journey that leads them to that hope and that healing.
And I'm sure that the people on the other end of that phone are used to that and understand that that first call is difficult. Right. So they guide them in the right direction and help them to feel, you know, that this is normal and this is okay.
We can relate. So our staff here at Warrior's Heart are warriors as well. So a lot of us are veterans, a lot of us are first responders, maybe spouses to active duty. We've lived the lifestyle, we understand what they're going through, we understand the path that they're on and how difficult it is. We relate to how they feel because we are also warriors.
I love it. And so are these amazing dogs. So let's talk about them. How do you choose a dog? Because I mean, I know they go through such an extensive training program. And I've seen so many different breeds here. So obviously it's dog specific. How do you choose them? How do you know this dog is going to work?
We have a really, really detailed plan that we stick to with every single dog. Actually, only about 2 of every 100 dogs we view has what it takes to be an incredible service dog. We're going to places like our local shelters, we're going to rescue organizations. We do on occasion take dogs from the general public donated to our program, but we're looking for dogs that are happy, wiggly, confident. They really want to be around people, and they have to be smart. Right, so we're going to teach these dogs the basic commands, so sit, walking nicely on a leash, learning how to crate train, and we're going to build on that. Our next step would be obstacles, so we're going to teach them to be really confident no matter what surface their handler puts them on, and from there we start our PTSD mitigation training. Now, as you know, everybody's PTSD symptom is going to be different. Mine is nightmares. Someone else's may be, I don't like people behind me. It makes me nervous and uncomfortable. So based on what their symptom is, they're going to teach that dog to mitigate it for them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that comes into, you know, the warrior or first responder coming and having that relationship with these dogs. I understand that you have like kind of like a free time for them to come and enjoy and just, you know, hang out with the dogs. When do you go from, hey, I like hanging out to these dogs, where I really would like this to be my service dog?
Absolutely. So we do have a therapeutic program. Any warrior at Warrior's Heart can spend time learning how to train dogs or just relaxing with their dogs. We even do nature walks twice a week. Those are a couple of miles, so we can just hang out with the dog and enjoy the therapeutic benefit. Some of our folks will go the next step, right? They're seeing how much better they feel after working with the canine and feel like adding that dog into their full-time life after discharge will benefit them. And that's when we really get into the tough training.
So when you do connect the warrior with their dog, I just love that. I think that's so exciting. That's a big deal for the dog too, because now they're out of their natural environment or where you've had them trained for so long, and now they're walking into somebody's home. How do they adapt?
So much like our warriors, our canines often come into the program broken. So they've been homeless, they've lost their family, they don't have a job, they don't have purpose or routine. So our canine warrior and our human warrior will mesh together to build that purpose and routine through their training program here. The dog then develops a very, very strong bond to their human. So it doesn't matter what environment they're in, be it here in our training center or at home or an airplane or a shopping center, that dog knows he's there for a very specific job to take care of his human. To the point that after that bond solidifies over time, the dog will begin to detect odor changes in their human.
Really?
Based on their anxiety.
Wow, okay. So in a situation where it might, you know, that anxiety comes up, what would that look like? What would the dog do for his human or her human?
That's a great question. So we've all seen nervous people who bounce their knee, right? Like this. We're teaching the dog to physically touch their handler over and over to alert them that that physical behavior has changed. Over time is when the dog starts to notice that along with this comes that odor change, right? The chemical reaction going inside the body, creating that anxiety is what the dog picks up on. So they'll often touch that handler or just get really annoying as what we're wanting them to do before the knee starts, right? So they can learn what they have to do to reduce their anxiety, to ground themselves, to center, to be comfortable, happy, healthy, based on what the dog is telling them.
So it's a trigger.
It is, it's a trigger.
And then they just calm them back down.
They calm. So there's actually some science behind why having our dog near us is so beneficial and therapeutic. When we touch our dog, and not just our service dog, this can be any dog, it's going to release all those feel-good hormones in your brain, like the love hormone. It's the same hormones that are released when mothers breastfeed their babies. So it's a natural anxiety reducer. It helps us quiet, center, and ground just by touching that dog. This is also why we're seeing such huge improvements on sleep with people who sleep with their service dog. They're touching that dog all night. They physically feel secure, but all those chemical reactions are being created in our brain and in our dog's brain as well.
I love that. I get that from my dogs for sure.
Yes.
So when somebody like a civilian is out in the public and they see, you know, anybody with a service dog or an emotional support dog, what's the proper etiquette? Because dog people tend to just like, oh, it's a dog, but I'm sure there's etiquette around it. What is that like for, you know, the best thing for the dog and their human?
It can be very overwhelming for our warriors to get out in public and be bomb rushed right by the general public. What most people are going to do is they're going to go right to the dog and pet the dog. What we should do is acknowledge that the person is there. Hi, what a beautiful dog. Oh my gosh, can you tell me something about him? May I pet him? Engage in some conversation, acknowledge the human, wait for their response. They're going to tell you whether it's okay to pet that dog or not. A lot of times these dogs are working really hard to detect those chemical changes. So if they're interrupted by another person touching them, it can take them away from their very important job and overwhelm their handler.
That's really good information to have.
Yeah.
Very good information to have. So when we look at, you know, all the things that they offer here at A Warrior's Heart, how could someone that wants to maybe donate or adopt a dog, how does that work? How can the public give back to this organization?
There's lots of ways that your viewers can help Warrior's Heart keep helping our warrior class. One of those ways would be through the Warrior's Heart Foundation. We will take in monetary donations, and that will help people get their treatment. It could help them get their dog. Another thing we love is just donations for the dog department. We love treats and toys and new things for our dogs like collars. Anything like that we can use. The biggest thing we want to do is go through our foundation.
Well, we'll have all those links down below so that people can get in touch with you. And is there anything, a specific story, like a win where you were able to connect a dog with a certain person?
Yes.
That you would love to share with us today?
There's so many. We just recently discharged our 100th canine team.
Oh, wow.
So we get a lot of follow-up calls and emails and photos. I had a client who was able to take his whole family to Disney World last summer, and this was someone who felt uncomfortable in restaurants. It just wasn't an option for him before getting that service dog. And because of his dog's training and his relationship, he was able to go to Disney World, you know, and be a normal, healthy family. We had another client who was being treated for COVID in the hospital. Of course, he had his service dog with him. One of the nurses asked if he could take that dog out for a potty break, and they did. They brought the dog back, and they said, this is the best service dog I've ever been around.
Wow.
So it's those small wins that seem insignificant that are really, really huge. It lets us know that these dogs are confident, they're doing their job, they're saving lives, and they're changing routines. And our soldiers and our warriors and our first responders love their dogs enough to get out and function in the public again.
Well, this is quite a facility and quite a program. Thank you so much for having us here today and sharing what you do so well.
Thank you.
And the give back that you've always been so big-hearted, but to see you so happy and giving back on such a big scale is just super exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share my purpose and my passion with you and your viewers. It's been amazing.
We enjoyed it. So you've heard it here. Look down below for the links if you'd like to donate to A Warrior's Heart or anything for these amazing dogs. Thanks so much for watching.